Okay, I'm recording. Okay, Brother Eric John Phelps with you tonight with my guest, Sean Hanlon. He's an author, authored 2 tremendous books that I offer on my website. You can link right up to him and he can get them to you. He is originally from Ireland and now he lives in Colombia, I believe.
That's right.
He was to be on a couple times with me and I fouled up the meeting we had, so I'm in remission now, and Sean has given me a dispensation to have him back on. So, Brother Sean Hanlon, he's a dear brother in Christ, knows the Lord, and again, I mentioned he's written these 2 books, and he's also going to update us on what's really going on in Europe with how what the Jesuit order is doing in Ireland, particularly. So, Brother Sean, welcome to the broadcast. So good to have you here on September the 12th, 2024.
Thank you, Eric. It's good to be with you and your listeners.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so would you like to update us first, or would you like to describe your 2 books first and then update, or whatever you'd like to do?
Sure. Okay, well, I'll talk about the books first, just to get it out of the way, and then we can go wherever the conversation takes us then after that, I suppose.
Okay.
Well, I suppose I've published in 2020 The Third Truth, The Global Lockdown Agenda and the Coming Great Reset. That was, I got destroyed by many people over that book, attacking me viciously. But sure. It's proven to be extremely accurate. It's standing the test of time really well. So it's I covered all of the lockdown agenda, how it was planned, how it was orchestrated, and what the ultimate agenda was with the they're calling it the I suppose the 4th Industrial Revolution rollout, the use of AI, and how society was being transformed.
Yeah.
But so that's that book. It covers quite a lot of that subject matter in detail. I predicted I suppose the inability, I suppose, of a lot of people to wake up to what is happening, and it's even got worse post. You see that happening in the United States.
Oh yes,
absolutely. It's got worse. They're going deeper into the hole. And this is I even described the patents for this in the book, and it's not written in plain language, but you can infer it from what they say in the patents, and it's quite obvious this is what is happening there. But then my second book, which was published just almost a year later after that, that was the Hidden Hand of History, The Enemy Within, talking about the mystery schools, the different branches from, I suppose, after the fall of man into Babel, the Nephilim. I go through the secret societies that grew out of this practice in Babel and then spread around the world, and then how I showed how they built the power structure and control structure even more so up to the modern day, and showing who's really at the top of it, getting into the Knights of Malta, Knights Templars, and of course the Jesuits and the Vatican. So that was the second book, but that was a 10-year project, not quite like yourself. You had a 20-year project, I believe, with the Vatican Assassins.
Yeah, it was. Well, for the listeners, I regard Sean's 2 works as wonderful sequels to my book, and that you need to get them. You need to buy them, because between my work and his sequels, we don't need a lot more work. I mean, Brother Stephen Drake's, I'm interviewing him now, and he's done a very good job with the Jesuit World Order. But I don't think there's a whole lot of books you dear folks that need to get. You don't have to do what we did, spend years and years digging all this out, because it's already been dug out by Sean. And when I read those books, I said, I'm putting them on my website. So you did a wonderful job, Sean, and may the Lord bless you for it.
Thank you very much. I don't think it's even, if I was to try and start all over again right now, I don't think it's possible for me to be able to find the information and the path that I did, because the censorship network is too over the top now. You wouldn't be able to do it unless you had a mentor directing you and helping you. That's the only way you'd be able to do it.
I see.
And it would be through old books or reading a lot of books. You wouldn't be able to get that information via the internet, or going by yourself via the internet now today. It's just not possible. It's a different internet today.
Yes, it is.
What it was.
They really locked it down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to go to another level. They're only getting warmed up.
They're only getting warmed up. that brings out all the Irish fight in me when I hear that. There's coming a point where the talking is going to have to end, and the research is ending because all the talking and the research has been done, and now something's got to be done. Men, brethren, what shall we do? And that day is getting closer and closer here in America, and I'm advocating that the counties start to declare their independence from Washington, and that when the series of counties start doing that, then you'll have a state that can do it, and then we can start to have a free country once again. But it's got to start in some action here now, in the not too distant future, because we're going to get the new right. They're going to put Trump in power, and he's going to be the American Joseph Stalin or Hitler or Mao, whatever you want to call him, but he's going to come in on legitimate grievances, primarily with all the white people that we've been robbed, raped, pillaged, and plundered for the last 60, 70 years. And it's got to the place where it's just unbearable now. So they want that so that they can funnel all the white people into the new right. And I'm very much against that. I preach against it all the time, that the only solution is true repentance and faith in Christ, and then to separate politically with a declaration of independence, starting with the county, and then maybe you could get your state to do it, but that's got to happen. Otherwise, they're going to bring us down terribly.
Yeah. No, I see the same thing happening in Ireland, but it's an even in worse condition in Ireland right now because the influx of I'm not even going to call them migrants or economic migrants. I don't even think that's correct anymore to call them economic migrants. There's an obvious UN military push into Ireland, and you can see it. That's the reason why I made the decision to leave with my wife last year, because I could see it coming. And
aren't they bringing all these blacks in from Africa to Ireland?
Well, they're doing that too. There's two agendas playing out at the same time. I think they're bringing all the Africans in to cause as much chaos as possible, but also they're bringing in tens and tens of thousands. It's probably in the hundreds of thousands now at this stage, but they're building encampments all over the country, and these to me look like refugee. They don't look like refugee camps. They look like military bases, barracks, or whatever way you want to call them. You
think they're concentration camps of some sort?
I think they're going to be rounding people up and putting them in there. Yes, I do, unfortunately.
So they call them FEMA camps here.
Yeah.
Got at least 600 of them.
Yeah.
Got 3 of them here in Pennsylvania, one right near me in Indiantown Gap. So you think they have the same kind of camps there in Ireland?
Yeah. You can see them building them all over the place, and there's no I actually found out only in the last couple of days that it's the vulture funds. Basically, the international bankers are financing these. So they're also buying out all of the property in Ireland as well. I heard quite an alarming statistic there very recently. It was something like in Dublin, the capital city, it's something like only 40% of homes that are being sold in Dublin are being sold to first-time buyers. It's something, or even Irish people who are buying them. It's like 60% are being bought up by the vulture funds. And so the government is giving them tax breaks as well to do it. So they're getting, it's just disgusting what's going on. They're really trying to replace the Irish population.
Yeah, but these people they're bringing in, they're blacks, right? They're Africans.
It's a combination of Africans and just a host of Muslim countries.
Yeah, well, they're pretty much African.
Yeah,
Arabs are Hamite. So they're bringing the Hamites, the blacks, into the white Ireland to race mix and miscegenate the Irish. And then ultimately, I don't think that's going to be allowed to go full circle, because I think the Irish and then the Germans and the French and all the others are going to say, well, we got enough. And so then the new right governments will be coming to power because they're driving all the white people to the new right. And then the roundups will take place because after all, these people are committing crime everywhere. Robbery, rape, murder, you know it. They have no respect for private property, to drive the whites into the new right, rather than the whites saying, no, this is of the Vatican, and we're getting rid of the papacy, and we're going to round up all these people, and they're going right back to where they came from. Well, we'll just send them to Rome. But there's got to be something other than the new right. And Martin Lee, as we talked about it in his book, The Beast Reawakens, says they are going to implement this new quasi-fascism in Europe. What do you think?
It's hard to say. For me right now, the size and scale of the invasion that's happening in Ireland, I don't even think it's going to be a political thing with the people. It's looking more like it's going to be total takeover. And it's like we don't care what you say, what you think anymore. You're conquered now. It's almost at that point.
Yeah.
It's the Irish military is so small. It's like there's I don't even know if there's more than 25,000 troops in the Irish army.
Really?
And it's really, really small because we've never been more than a peacekeeping force under the UN in the last 50 years, really. That's all we've ever been. And so when you see this,
So Ireland has been denied its own army for its protection?
yes, there is. Well, we have our own Coast Guard and everything else, but I mean, one American aircraft carrier could take out Ireland. You know, that's how small our military is. You know, we don't have a defense here, so we could be easily rode over, no problem at all. But the way I see it going right now in Ireland is with this military invasion, it's one of two scenarios. They're trying to push people to the point of fighting back, and then they're going to use the immigrants to clamp down on them, or it's going to be they're going to get their orders all of a sudden, and I think it's going to happen Europe wide. I think they're just going to. There's been an influx, a huge influx of military under the guise of helping migrants or refugees, but it's been the Trojan horse that's been used to bring in soldiers from the United Nations from all over the world. You can even see the UN vehicles on the roads in Ireland now.
Is that right? So you think it's a UN takeover?
Yeah, that's the way I see it happening in Ireland at the moment.
But the Irish don't have any guns, right? You're not
No,
armed.
not at all.
So they can do what they want. You're disarmed, and we're going to beat you into the ground. And I find that intriguing because the Jesuits have always used the Irish as their agents to effect takeover in other countries like this one and in England. But now it appears that they're done with the Irish. And so they're just going to discard them. What do you think?
I think that's highly likely because we do have a history of rebellion in this country against authority, and that hasn't gone away. But the numbers are just too small on our side compared to what's happening, what's coming in. And unfortunately, you know, it's been a case for years now. Even you could even see it during the lockdowns. There's a serious, like there's people who know what's happening, the truth, and then there's the percentage of those people who know who are prepared to speak out. That's a small percentage.
Very small.
Yeah. So the rest are cowards.
That's right.
Cowards. And cowards are natural traitors.
That's right.
So
cowards are natural traitors. Well said.
So unfortunately, that's the situation we're in, and people are still keeping their head down, thinking that this is going to blow over. People are asking me all the time, well, what can we do about it? I said, well, when you're in the concentration camp in a year or two, you'll have plenty of ideas of what you could have done.
That's
and
right.
How you could have done it. But the reason why you can't think of anything is because you're a coward.
That's
because
right.
you can think of something, but you're just not willing to do what needs to be done.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
That's right. So do you see this happening also in England and Scotland and Denmark?
I've been informed that in the Highlands of Scotland, there's been sections of the British military have been training the migrants in crowd control up in the Northern Highlands of Scotland, and they're training them by the tens of thousands. And who are they going to be used against? They're going to be used against the native population.
Scots, the white Scots. That's right. So they're going to use these blacks and these Arab Muslims to oppress and beat down the white Scots, the white English, the white Irish, the white Americans. But we still have our guns. So if push comes to shove, the guns are coming out. So they have a real problem with guns still here. But go ahead.
Yeah, unfortunately, I see Ireland being genocided if this continues. I don't even think they have another year left. I really don't, because it appears they have critical mass in Ireland. They definitely have it in the UK now as well. And it appears that they're getting it across the rest of Europe. So the masterminds behind this, at any time when, I'm sure they're going to sink it so that it's a Europe-wide movement, boom, order comes and it's all going to happen at the one time, because it can't be seen for one country to be taken over and totally subjugated, and then people in other countries wake up. Look what happened there. We need to get these people out of here. So it's going to be coordinated European wide. I'm sure of that.
I agree. But don't you think that coordination European wide will be to then ultimately round up all these invaders? Because I don't call them migrants, brother. I don't call them immigrants. They're invaders. They
100%.
hate us. They hate us. They hate white people. They hate our white countries. And they're tearing them apart. They're raping our white women. It goes on and on and on. And you can't talk about this. You can't talk about it in the news because you're a racist if you do. Well, I say that's too bad. They're the facts. That's what needs to be said, and let the pieces fall where they may.
Exactly. No, it's almost a weekly occurrence now. I'm seeing videos from Ireland where children getting stabbed outside schools on a regular basis by migrants,
by the Muslims,
by the Muslims. Yes, mm-hmm. They're very, very dangerous bunch of people now. These radical Muslims.
They're savages.
Yeah.
Let's call them what they are. They're savages. They're not civilized people. They don't produce civilizations. They don't produce civilized countries. I wouldn't ever want to move to any of their countries.
Not a chance.
Come to our country. No, they're savages. They're not like us, and they need not be around us, whatever it takes to get rid of them.
Yeah. But unfortunately, the police have made their choice on who they're siding with. And this is quite clear in the UK and Ireland. They are beating the people down with the riot police and everything else. But again, that all comes down to the people not being armed.
That's right.
And so this is the number one reason, because they're a bunch of cowards too. And I even hear the police calling the protesters cowards while they have the force of the state behind them. You know, it's there's some serious mental gymnastics going on there to be thinking like that. They're basically treating the local people who are standing up like they're the enemy and that need to be dealt with.
Here. Doing the same thing here. Any white man that stands up and says, we don't want all this black savagery, all this Hispanic invasion here, this savagery. Why, you're a racist and a bigot. And we're going to arrest you, but we don't want to do anything to those people. So I'm telling you, here it's coming to a tremendous head. And there's a whole bunch of armed white men here that aren't going to put up with it. Because when you can't pay your mortgage and you can't pay your property tax and they're going to income tax you to death, it gives you no other option but for the gun. And that means you have to get control of the county government, do it biblically. You got to have a government in place, Lex Rex of Rutherford. And then you got to take up the sword of just defense, as the Calvinists always championed. With no sword of just defense, the papists, the papacy, and all their agents are going to beat us in every country.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I see that I'm still talking to people in Ireland and who keep me informed of what's going on, but it's I don't share their optimism. They're like, people are waking up, Sean. It's like, but that doesn't matter. The borders are still wide open. They're still flooding in, and they're coming to kill you.
They're coming to kill you. That's right.
So you can say, oh, we need to stay away from this negativity and not focus on that and stay more positive, because they want us to be negative. And listen, you're not thinking rationally. This is why I talk to some of these people. I said, I'm looking at it. I'm not in my emotions. I'm looking at logistics. Yes. And I'm looking at the movements on the ground.
Yes.
That's it.
You're looking at facts.
Yes.
And a fact is a fact. A fact is not an inference. A fact is a fact. When two people look at it, it's the same conclusion. It's a fact.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm telling them, it's like, you either need to get, that's the reason why I left Ireland, because if I thought there was a movement that was going to stand up and do something, I would have stayed. But I was like, I'm not staying, because I know, because of my research and what I've been putting out to the world online and through my books, I know I'm going to be one of the first to be rounded up. So I was like, I'm not hanging out, or at the best case scenario, I get my children taken off me.
Yeah.
Why would I hang around for that?
Right.
You know?
Right. Absolutely right. They will attack you, to defame you, to make you look like a kook, so we can take your children. That's right.
Yeah. I see them doing it now in the UK. They're people who have been protesting. I'm sure you've seen the videos of the riots in England, and they were all over England. But of course, it was against the migrants stabbing children, the Muslims, radical Muslims stabbing children. It's just happening over and over and over. And it's not just the UK and Ireland. It's happening in Germany and Belgium and Austria. It's happening everywhere. Italy as well. And the people are starting to rise up against it. But every time they meet the wall of their own police on the side of the invaders, every single time.
Every single time.
Yeah.
So I said here, if this continues here, the cops are going to be the enemy. Either we have to declare our independence from Washington, or we got to have to fight the cops along with these savages that they brought in here. And so, but it has to be in the context of a Declaration of Independence. If we don't do that, we don't have the Lord's blessing, and we're just out there trying to shoot these savages. It's not going to work. It has to be in the context of a government that's not going to put up with it, and you can align yourself with that government to put an end to this and deport all these criminals. That's why I think, Sean, I think the whole thing it's Europe-wide, and the Pope is not going to let these savage Muslims, and that's what they are, savage Muslims, they're not going to let them take over white Catholic Europe. It's not going to happen. The Pope would never do that. It's just using them to drive the whites of Europe into the extreme of the new right. Can you see that? Does that make sense to you or not?
It's hard to make that call. Because of the military buildup, I don't know what way they're going to, because I think the elections are irrelevant from here on out.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
It doesn't matter. It's like people are either going to get organized and fight it back against us very, very soon, or it's over. You know, I think for Ireland, unless we got outside assistance, it probably already is. Because they were vastly outnumbered, and it's clear by the people who are guarding all these migrant camps, or IPAS centers, they call them, International Protection, I can't remember what the A stands for, but centers or whatever. But so it's clear that military guys are on the gates of all of these places, and they're all wearing the black mask over their face, you know, just the eyes showing, and they're all very well built guys. They stink of military. They absolutely stink of military.
But they are white Irishmen, right?
No, they're all foreign.
They're all foreign. So all these guys in the police are foreigners?
No, not the police force. These are not police. These are private security.
Okay, so all this private security, and where are they? What do they do?
There's some of them sounded Eastern European. And then there's been other ones, obviously Muslim, and some African. It's a big mix. It seems to be different every place you go, but there's no Irish basically at all there on working on the security on these places. They've all been contracted in from outside. That's what you see on the ground, and they are springing up out beside all the major population centers, encircling them. And it's clear it's a military objective with what's going on with these places. So that's why I'm not even looking towards a political being driven into, maybe that might happen in the United States, the scenario you're painting, but I don't see it happening in Ireland. I see it, the population, they're in for a very, very rude awakening when the click goes, or when the bell's pushed, or the button is pushed.
So do you think these foreigners, these invaders, these blacks, these Muslims, and you said even Eastern Europeans?
I think so, yes.
Okay, so when the whistle is blown, they're going to start rounding up the Irish and sending them to the camps.
I think that's highly likely.
White Irish, I should say, because this is all about race and religion.
Yeah.
Period.
It'll be the dissenters, the people who are dissenting against the loud, who've been most vocal. They're all going to disappear first. And then they'll pick off the ones who have been out protesting, because the government has everybody on profile. They're out with their cameras and their facial recognition everywhere at all of these protests, documenting everything. And there's been a reason for that. Oh. I think that's the ultimate reason. They're coming. They've all been working together. The Irish government is completely 100% in the hands of Rome and the Davos crowd and the United Nations and the EU. There's almost nothing they do that is for the Irish people these days. Almost nothing. I mean, but they're beyond a joke how criminally corrupt they are right now. It's the
same way here. There's nothing that's being done for the white American people, particularly historic Protestants and Baptists. But Catholics are involved too. They're getting the brunt of the persecution. But there's nothing for the white man in this country anymore at the hands of this emergency war powers military government and District of Catholics, District of Columbia.
Yeah. It's in Ireland now, it's there's people saying that there's the well, I don't know if you've heard of the GAA. The GAA is the Gaelic Games Association. It's of course it was founded by the Irish Republican Brotherhood, and I suppose the Catholic Church was very heavily involved in it for a long time as well. But it's basically a sporting association, and they have two major sports, Gaelic football and hurling. They play all over the country. But this is a natural network which could quickly organize across the entire country if it was organized. But the call will never come from there. For the top guy in there, he's talking about, he's Mr. Woke, you know.
Mr. Woke.
Yeah. Jarlath Burns, I believe his name is, the president of that association. So he would have been originally from a very staunch IRA supporting community, but they're never going to make the call to organize against what's happening. That definitely not. But even in Belfast, I know that there was massive protests recently, and it was beautiful to see the nationalists and the unionists coming together for the first time in a long, long time. You've seen.
Now that's Catholic and Protestant, right?
Yes, and they were marching down the street together, arms around each other, united as one.
And the nationalists are the Protestants.
No, the nationalists would be historically Catholic, and then the unionists or loyalists would be Protestant.
Protestants, I see.
So they were all joined together against a common enemy because they realized that the radical Muslims are extremely dangerous because there's stabbings happening everywhere.
I hate you. That's right. Mm-hmm. That's exactly right.
There was even grown men being raped in parks in Belfast by Muslim immigrants. That's how crazy it is, you know. Mm-hmm. And so they're joining together now, and they're coming together as one. And the government, now that was something I predicted that years ago that this was going to happen, because once they realize how bad what's coming is, they will quickly put their differences aside. Northern Ireland has a chance in comparison to the Republic, because there's far more paramilitarism historically in Northern Ireland than there was in Southern Ireland, and they're much more unified in their own camps, let's say. But now they're coming together. But in nationalist areas, that's the Catholic areas, in Belfast and other areas around Northern Ireland, the old IRA guys, who are all socialist communist, they're going to people's homes and they're ordering them out. You have to leave. They're telling them, if you don't get out, something bad's going to happen to you, because they're protesting against the plantation of their own country, which happened before. And so these guys, this is what's happening in Republican areas or nationalist areas in Belfast. But I really don't think that's going to last for very long in Northern Ireland, because they don't have the numbers on their side, and everybody knows who these paramilitary guys are. So if there's enough people against them, it doesn't matter if they have guns, because there's the weight of numbers will force them out eventually. I think that's what's happening in Southern Ireland. But they're actively, I'm sure you know all about Antifa.
Uh-huh.
The Antifa in Ireland, especially in especially in Northern Ireland. A lot of the old IRA guys and active people who would have been working for Sinn Féin, that was the main nationalist Republican Party. A lot of their supporters, it was like, oh no, I can't stand them anymore. But it's amazing how the double think they have going on in their brains. They run to Antifa as to fight against the system, not knowing
it's destroying them.
Pardon?
But Antifa is destroying them. Remember, in Germany before Hitler, there was Antifa. Mm-hmm. And there were the Antifa mobs in Munich. And that helped to drive the German people into the new right of the NSDAP party with the Nazis. So I don't know, Sean. I would hope that there are enough white men in Ireland that are going to say, we're not going to put up with this anymore. And to drive these invaders out and to execute the political leaders that facilitated all this, for have public hangings and bring the children with lunch so we can all watch these wicked, sinful bastards die, and they're genociding us here in Ireland.
What I've noticed is I've been paying a lot of attention to a lot of the protests that have been happening around Ireland. Mm-hmm. And it's been noticeable that the police who've been policing it, I've heard a lot of English accents with the riot police.
Is that right?
They're using foreign police against.
So they're bringing the English against the Irish.
Yeah. And I've heard the same thing happening from a cousin of mine. He's living in Canada, and he was telling me the same thing was happening in Canada against the trucker convoy. They were using foreign police, or disguised as police. They had no badge numbers, got the mask on, and he says they could hear like Russian or Polish or whatever accents, and they says that they were clearly not Canadians. And the same thing is happening in Ireland now as well. So they're bringing them in from the UK or whatever, or it could be Scotland, Wales, England, doesn't matter, or even from up the road in Northern Ireland. They're using, because the numbers are getting out of control with the size of the protest movements now. They're getting bigger and bigger all the time. But unfortunately for these protest movements, they're all infiltrated. It's all been, I've warned people from day one about the Irish Republican, or the IRB, the Irish Republican Brotherhood. Get away from anything associated with those people, because they're going to set you up.
That's right.
That's 100% going to happen.
That's right. Absolutely.
The only solution I see to it is, number one, you have to put your faith in God. I really like what you said as well. Make a declaration of forming a breakaway government, a republic, or even it be your local county, because you have to start local. You have to start local.
And by the way, in America, 1 year before the Declaration of Independence in 1774, we had what was called the Mecklenburg Declaration, where Mecklenburg County of North Carolina, with 28 thoroughgoing white Protestant Calvinists and Baptists, declared their independence from King George III. That's 1 to 2 years before the Declaration of Independence. Declaration of Independence was copied. They copied a portion of the Mecklenburg Declaration and put it in the Declaration of Independence. When to this end we devote our lives, our fortunes, our sacred honor. That's right out of the Mecklenburg Declaration. So indeed, there has to be a Declaration of Independence.
But even on the local level, and in each county in Ireland, like there's 32 counties in Ireland, that's including North and South. Probably the Northern Ireland is the least affected. And the reason it's the least affected is because Southern Ireland has historically been much wealthier. And not always, probably just the last 25 years, 30 years. But so everybody, if an immigrant was going to go anywhere, they would always want to go to the Republic of Ireland, because they were going to get much more money from the government, social welfare. There's a much more generous welfare state in the Republic. And that's another angle, because that's guaranteed to collapse with what's happening.
Yeah, has to.
It is guaranteed to collapse. And I think that's part of the agenda as well. What happens when all these invaders no longer have money to buy food?
They're going to come yours.
They're going to smash up every home that they can get that's in their vicinity.
Shoot them. First time, no questions asked. Just start shooting them, and then they get the message. You know what the Turks used to do? During the Korean War, you had the communist North Koreans, and they would try to terrorize the other armies that were there, like the Americans and the Turks, whatever. The Turks would take them out. They would call them slicky boys. They take these Northern Koreans or these Chinese, they'd cut off their heads, and they'd string them up with ropes at the gate leading into the Turkish camp. And guess what? The Turks didn't have any problem at all with the slicky boys. And something like that is going to have to be done. It's going to have to be that radical, that bloody, for them to get the message. You're not going to do that here, boy.
Unfortunately, the Irish people are not armed. That's the big, big problem for the Irish people. I've been telling everybody who would listen, there's I don't know if you know much about your construction tools, but there's a Milwaukee. I'm sure you know the brand Milwaukee.
Oh, yeah.
Get a Milwaukee nail gun.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can buy one of those. You can fire 4-inch nails.
Yeah.
And it's a repeat trigger. You can hold it, but just pull a band across it, and boom, 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 boom.
Yep.
You can fire 4-inch nails at 250 mile an hour.
That's right.
That's about the best you're going to get in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
I've been telling everybody to get one of those because you're going to need it.
They're going to need it. Absolutely right. Yeah.
Stock up on a pack of that big box of nails.
That's right.
Because that no government can take that off you. You can say, oh, that's for construction work. Right. It's not illegal to own. You don't need a license.
Yeah.
But it's a really good piece of kit. I have one.
Absolutely.
But I was building for years though, so it's there's a reason I have one. But I was telling people
I used to build chicken houses, and they're like, I think 300 feet long, some were 400. And we'd start shooting that nail gun when nobody else was in there. Those nails are good just about to the end of that chicken house. Mm-hmm. So we thought that was hilarious. But those nail guns will work.
That is the only thing that I would recommend to any Irish watching this. Get yourself one of those nail guns. It doesn't have to be brand new because you're not building houses. Just get something that'll function.
That's right.
Preferably not with a gas cartridge because the vast majority of people won't know how to fix it if it doesn't work. Just get a normal battery one. That'll do.
That'll do it. Normal battery. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. So that's one of the high points of the broadcast here. Irish people, get yourselves battery-driven nail guns and get armed with plenty of nails. That's right.
Yeah. You're going to need something. Better to have it and not need it than be needing it and not having it because it's too late then.
That's right. Too late.
Yeah. Because even you can see it now. Even I was talking to a friend from home. He was telling me it's just incredible when you walk down the street. Where in our small little town, place called Letterkenny in Donegal in the northwest of Ireland, he says that you hardly see a white man now. My own mother was on the phone to me a few days ago and told me that she's scared to walk down the street now. Mm-hmm. That's how bad it's gotten just in the last 5 years, because it's changed so much. Lockdown, they really opened the floodgates, and that's where they really started moving massive amounts of people in. Again, but people were thinking, oh, it's not questioning this, because they're so brainwashed, that if we're in a pandemic, why would you be bringing all these foreigners in?
Yeah, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Under the creating fear and terror and so on, we'll bring all these savages in here. And I find it intriguing, Sean, that the press doesn't denounce it, that the political leaders go along with it and facilitate it and finance it. That means they're all traitors, and they have to be somehow, some way connected with secret societies above them, telling them what to do. And of course, they're getting their orders from the Jesuits and the papacy for the destruction of historic white Catholic and Protestant nations. I mean, they're doing this in Italy too, right?
I agree with you on the higher levels, for sure. But there's a lot of useful idiots out there as well. Yeah. There's no shortage of them. I know a few. There was they literally they can see the destruction of their own country happening in front of them, but they openly say, if I see you out protesting against the immigrants coming into this country, I'll be on the other side protesting against you. That's like, my goodness.
Awful. I remember when Antifa was going to come through Lebanon City. So that's a historic white Protestant town. There's a lot of Hispanics that have moved in there, but most of them are workers, and they're not. There's crime with them, but it's not like in other major cities. And so I went to see the sheriff, and I said, I want you to sign me up on your list. Well, what for? I said, because when Antifa comes into town, I want to be armed. I want to be under this authority of the sheriff so I can shoot them. Okay? When they start bashing in the windows and terrorizing people, I'm going to shoot them and I'm going to kill them, because I know how to do that. I was in the military for a while, and that's a skill that you get and you never lose. And so I just want you, he said, well, you have your own weapons? I said, I sure do. I said, all I want is my name on the list, and you call me and I'm ready to go. And I'll call 10 of my friends and we'll be ready to go too, okay? And we're going to put an end to it. And you bring in the ACLU, and then we're going to shoot them too. So we're going to get rid of all these socialist left-wing communists that are destroying our nice little community in our county. We do not have to put up with that. And we have the first right is the right of self-preservation. How can you have any other right if you don't exist? So no. So, and you know what he did? He put my name down, put my buddy's name down too. By the way, I think you might have met him, Brother Eric. He's out of Ireland. And so it's his historic Irishman. He was IRA when he was there and became an LA police officer. But we're all signed up with the sheriff, ready to go. Because we got to do it under the umbrella of legitimate government, and the sheriff is the highest law enforcement officer of the county. He can kick anybody out that he wants to. CIA, FBI, all of them. That's why we need to have a Declaration of Independence in the county.
Yeah.
Make sense?
It does. In the American context, that's there's a lot more. I see. You have a brighter future, or you have a better chance, a much better chance than the Irish and the British do. Because even in the UK right now, I don't know if you've been seeing it, but they're emptying the jails. They're literally letting hardened criminals out of the jails. This is a communist tactic again, of course. Yeah. And then they're putting in the people who are protesting against the plantation or the occupation of the country by these migrants, these invaders. And they're getting extremely harsh jail sentences. Mm-hmm. Like there was one guy who was just
got communist judiciary.
There's one guy got 2 years in jail for observing a protest, not participating, observing. 2 years in jail in the UK. That's how bad it is.
Wow.
And and then there's guys they're getting suspended sentences for rape.
For rape.
The migrants, the immigrants, the invaders.
Savage black, Arab, Muslim migrants raping the white girls, raping the white women, torturing the children, pouring hot boiling water on the children's heads, all sorts of torture that they're imposing. And the filthy cops aren't going to do anything about it. They're worse. You got to deal with the cops first. They need to know if they don't protect their own people, they're on a list and we know where you live. And when you get that fear in you, then you want to start, maybe you ought to start doing the right thing. Maybe my pension isn't that important anymore. There's got to come to that.
I was speaking with, I don't know if you know Michael Young. He's the American war correspondent.
I've heard of him. I don't know him.
Okay, I did an interview with him maybe about a month ago, and we spoke at length about the police, and he made some really good points because he's been all over the world. He's been in over 100 countries as a war correspondent, and he was saying basically it's only going to end one way for the police in the UK and Ireland. He says if they go against the people, they're going to be dead. He says if they go against They said they're doomed either way. He says they're doomed either way because if the Irish and the British patriots win, they're going to throw these people in a heap and set them on fire and their families.
And that's what they deserve.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they deserve.
Yeah.
How many people have they killed or destroyed their lives before they finally get what they deserve?
Yeah. And then the same thing he was saying, but if the invaders win, they're still going to get the only thing, it might be slightly better for them if the invaders win because they might leave their families alone. Whereas the patriots will go after the families as well. They'll be tarnished because, he's the son of a traitor. He's the daughter of a traitor. And that'll follow them, you know? So either way, it's going to end badly for them. But they're just, it's like it's just like Orwell said in 1984. It's like the people, their minds are occupied by football, beer, and gambling, and this is the majority of the police I know. This is their mindset. They don't care about anything else other than their own selfish gains in life.
They're
to hell.
Yeah, they're children, and you must give children entertainment. So make sure we have a big soccer game, and make sure we have all of our entertainment on Facebook and whatever, so we can just be entertained and not be able to be men.
There's almost none of them. Like I know quite a few people in the police, and maybe one of them, I would say, would have a moral backbone in him. But I haven't spoke to him now in a couple of years. But the rest of them, they will just follow orders. They will do what they're told, and they don't care. Even after the migrants went and they stabbed, there was 4 or 5 people, school children, from about 5 to 8 years of age. This was last November. And the Irish went on the rampage, the riots in Dublin, burning the buses and smashing in shops and whatnot. But there was the undercover police who were involved in that too, to make it look worse for the optics for the other traitors in the media so they could get the photographs they wanted. Right. They were involved in that too. But I remember talking to in a WhatsApp group with some people from home, you know, and there's a few of them are police, and getting just, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It was like it's the far right that's the problem in Ireland. I was like, almost just totally
to same thing here.
Totally blocked out the reality that, hang on a second, why did that whole thing start?
Yeah.
There was 5 children stabbed. And
5 white children that were stabbed by Arab and black savages with hatred for the white race. Don't you get that, people?
Yeah.
White people have a problem. White people have a problem. They can't understand that they're the target for destruction right now. Yeah. I remember I watched this mulatto professor, I think he was the University of North Carolina. He had these long dreadlocks on. He says, we gotta get rid of this white race off the face of the earth. And I said, he's advocating genocide and he's not arrested? And now it's all that kind of talks everywhere. So
you even hear it from immigrants on social media in Ireland, calling for violence against the Irish.
Yes.
But if an Irish said a bad word about them, they'd be getting done for it.
Yeah.
You know, it's a second-class system now where the Irish, it's the same all over Europe. The native white population are having their rights trampled all over, and the invaders are having superior rights.
Right.
In the UK, when there was it was so obvious, the two-tier policing. They went brutally in with pepper spray and riot gear against the protesters in England. But there was Muslims by the thousands in gangs all over the UK in different cities, armed with weapons like baseball bats, spears, you name it, knives, swords, and the police didn't go near them. The police had a liaison officer to go in to talk to them and say, "Oh, would you mind leaving your weapons in at your local mosque?"
Yeah, would you please? Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, this is what was happening.
Yeah, so I see this as the Jesuit order running the Freemasonry in England, and then the secret society, and then the MI5, MI6. Don't think for 1 second that the MI5, MI6 aren't part of this, because I really believe the end game is to drive all these white people to desperation, where they don't have food, they don't have protection, and these savages are killing them. And there's going to be some white men. There's always some alpha males somewhere. They're going to stand up. They don't care whether they live or die. And when that happens, then there will be a move. What do you think?
Oh, that's going to happen, and it's already started. It's already started on it.
White people are the greatest warriors in world history. We're the greatest fighters. We're the greatest killers. We have armed the greatest armies. We don't kill a people. We destroy a nation. And so when that kind of power is utilized against these savages, they're finished. And I also think they brought those Arab savages into Europe to take pressure off Israel, because Israel has to grow. It has to become more prosperous in the future. So what better way than to get rid of all these Arab savages, send them into Europe, send them into America so they can all be rounded up and killed.
It's funny you should mention that. There was I can't remember what minister it was. There was some Israeli prime minister talking about the protest that was happening all over the world, pro-Palestinian protest because of the Israeli massacre that was going on there. And there was protests in Ireland, and I think it was an Israeli minister says, "Oh, let the Irish take the Palestinians," and there was an influx after that. So there's definitely an Israeli hand moving them there as well, for sure.
The Pope, runs the government of Israel.
Yes.
The Pope only wants it's his revived Latin kingdom of Jerusalem, and the Jews have no power there because they're under a tyrannical government. They're also so no. That's Benjamin Netanyahu. He would say something like that. Is that the one who said that?
No, it wasn't him. I believe it was a woman. I can't remember who.
Mm-hmm. And of course, I'm of the opinion there's no such thing as Palestinians. They're all Arab Muslims. They don't belong anywhere in Israel. If they hate the Jews, they hate Israel so bad with the highest standard of living, they can go to other Arab countries. But the other Arab countries hate their guts. Like King Hussein of Jordan in the Black 100s, I forget how many thousands he killed. How many thousand Muslims living in Israel that wanted to come into Jordan. Egypt will not allow those savages in Gaza to go into Egypt. They will not. So Egypt is responsible for this Gaza issue, not to mention that the Israeli government and Hamas work together to facilitate this.
Sure. And then there's, if you look at the history of Lebanon, what the Palestinians did there when they moved after 1948. They attacked the people who hosted them, took them in, and they turned what was a Christian, wasn't totally Christian, but there was a solid Christian foundation in that country, and they destroyed it.
And they destroyed it. That's
with their radical Islam.
So it's the papacy using radical Islam to destroy historic Christianity in other nations. That's right. So I say the Pope needs to be blamed for all of this, for all of the savage Muslim behavior. It all goes right back to the papacy, and it's the Pope that needs to be blamed, so we can expel every priest, every archbishop, every cardinal, all of them out of our countries. They're all traitors. They're all conspirators. And you can go with your Muslim brothers, and then you can have a nice time in Rome. But you get out, because you're nothing but trouble.
Sure, in the, where was it? It was Pope Francis said very recently that, he said it was a sin to be against taking immigrants into your country. He said that very, very recently.
Yeah. He would also advocate sodomy and a host of other sins, because that Jesuit Pope wants to appeal to your emotions. Hey, read the Bible. The Bible's clear. There are nations, there are peoples, there are races, and God instituted that for our good. We're not to race mix. We're not to miscegenate. Blacks marrying whites and whites marrying you name it. That's destruction of the culture, and that's what's pushed in Hollywood. The Matrix Reloaded, constant miscegenation. The bad guys in the Matrix are all white. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
But the good guys, they're all race mixed and miscegenated, and the blacks and the whites and New Orleans happy. We're the good guys. That's that continual theme in our destruction.
Probably one of the only honest movies I saw for depicting the future society that's coming is, have you watched The Hunger Games?
Yes, I have.
Did you look at you've seen all the peasants living in the countryside, and then you go into the capital city, which is much more affluent. Every single person in that movie who was in the capital city looked gay. Every single, or transgender. Every single one. This was the ruling clique, and then everybody else was destitute and poor. So
there can be no manhood.
Yeah.
Because when everybody's a sodomite, and when everybody's what is the other one? Transgender. There's no manhood. I remember I was downtown in Harrisburg one day several years ago, and there was a young black man there, and he was facing away from me. He was doing something with his car, and he was well groomed. He had his hair nicely combed. His nice clothes on. He really looked sharp. So I went up to him. I said, "Excuse me, sir, but I just want to tell you, you really look sharp and well groomed." And he said, "Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that." I said, "Oh, no." But that's what my son tells me. It says all the I don't call them gays. We're gay. We're happy. They're not gay. They're homosexuals. They're sodomites. And he said to me, the vast majority of them are well groomed, have their hair combed, I said, well, that's how you should look anyway as a Christian young man. He said, oh, that's how the homosexuals are. Isn't that unbelievable?
Yeah. Oh, there was a comment. Someone made a really good comment there. It was an Irish guy I follow. He says that probably the LGBT movement is the worst organization, which is through the NGO sector. They're probably the worst for pushing all of this on society. Somebody, I can see the comment here in front of me. Someone said, if you want to find an army of child grooming, pedophile enabling, property abolitionist, open border racists, go to a pride parade.
Go to a pride parade, yeah.
I thought that was bang on.
Yeah, that is bang on. And you know what I laugh about is if the Muslims ever had political power, they'd kill them all.
100%.
Kill them all.
100%. That's guaranteed. This whole Queers for Palestine movement is just, how off the charts wrong can you be with your worldview? Yeah. Queers for Palestine.
You remember that one guy, I forget, it was Uzbekistan or one of the Stan countries, and somebody interviewed him and says, what do you think about what do you do for the gay population? And he said, we don't have any of those people here. We don't have any of those people here.
I think that was Ahmadinejad from Iran.
Okay, was it him?
I think that was him. I remember that. Yeah. I think it was Ahmadinejad.
People here. Yeah. I thought, good for you.
Yeah, so there's a huge explosion in the UK, US, and Ireland with the homosexual community, and it's obviously it's a spiritual condition. but I think it's also a medically induced condition as well.
I would agree that there's a lot that's pushing young men to that way, like with the water, with the xenoestrogens, making them estrogen dominant, and the food that they're feeding us makes us feminine. And
the plastic, everything's wrapped in plastic as well. That's another one.
Yes.
Drinking out of plastic bottles all the time, but also I believe are to blame because they're using aborted fetal cells. You've got the XX and the XY chromosome.
Now remember, brother, they're aborted baby cells. Animals have fetuses. We have babies. So they're using aborting baby cells in that. That's right. They can only hurt us.
Yeah. I stand corrected on that one. I agree with you 100%. Call it as it is.
Call it as it is, man. Let the pieces fall where they may, because we're not guaranteed a tomorrow.
No.
So when we have the opportunity to tell the truth today, we'll just do it and trust God for deliverance or time for death. But either way, we got to tell the truth and in all of its rawness, in all of its effrontery, because the opposite is the same.
Yeah, a lot of people still ask, how can you live with this knowledge, this information in your head? And I'm like, when you speak the truth and when you follow Christ, you have an internal peace that people don't understand. Like knowing what I know would institutionalize a lot of atheists with the knowledge I have in my head. But I sleep soundly at night. Doesn't bother me. And I always go to bed, sleep peacefully, no problem.
Yeah. Well, the Lord will keep them in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on thee. So as your mind is stayed on him in reading the word of God and realizing that this is unfolding as a result of sin and national judgments on a sinful white population that has nothing to do with God. And that's the whites have promoted atheism, and the whites have promoted evolution and going to their colleges where you have to be imbibed with all this trash before you can be a professional in some place. It's all sin of the white intellectuals, the white attorneys, the white doctors, because they facilitated all this. And hopefully there'll be some sort of repentance and a move back to sanity.
Well, I knew in the Irish context, it was 2015, I believe, was the gay marriage referendum. And then very shortly after that was the legalization of abortion. I knew at that time, this is the death of this country.
It's the death of the country. That's right.
And I couldn't fully explain it at the time, but I just knew in my spirit, this is going to destroy us.
That's right.
And I believe we're under judgment ever since.
No doubt. We've been under national judgment. Yep.
And I do see a lot of people are turning back to God, though. So that gives me more hope than anything else.
Absolutely. And reading the Reformation Bible. Reading the King James Reformation English Bible of 1769. That's the foundation of America, Canada, England, Northern Ireland. We have to get back to the Reformation English Bible and not these other Catholic perversions that all the churches seemingly have adopted.
Well, that's in the Republic of Ireland, that's again still a big problem. There is still this big connection with nationalism in Ireland and the Catholic Church. Like I exposed that heavily, how it was all a manipulation through the secret societies and the aristocracy working together with Rome to bring this about. Like it basically made the church a state within the state in Ireland.
Yes. And
that has been the case since the 1600s. But they've ruled us since maybe 500 years before that. Through it was Pope Adrian, I can't remember. It was Breakspear. It was the Breakspear Pope. Pope Adrian something, I can't remember. But they've been ruling Ireland since that time. But now it's they've ruled internally with an iron fist from the 1700s.
Yes.
And it's because of the revolutionary movements driving people into it.
Yes.
And they've all been Catholic organized through the Jesuits, of course.
Yes.
Yeah. So and that is still the big hangover even to this day. You try to tell people about turning away from the Catholic Church and just come and just read your Bible. Forget about the church. It's quite obvious they're infiltrated, but they'll even get offended with you because because I take issue with the the Latin Mass. So
Yep.
what do you want a Latin Mass for? Do you speak Latin?
Right.
And they're like, no.
Well,
What good is it?
What's good is it? That's right. I remember Alberto Rivera says, so they had the Second Vatican Council, so they would do away with the Latin Mass so the priests could tell their lies face to face, facing the people rather than turning away from the people in Latin. Yeah.
But that drives me wild. Why people gain their faith from hearing the word of God,
right,
and listening to it, and it pierces their heart. Yep. But if you're listening to something you don't have a clue what he's saying when he's speaking in Latin.
No, not at all.
And there's maybe a tiny, small few elite who will understand what's being said, but the vast majority will not. Yeah. So what is the point of it? It's right. It's tradition. It's tradition. They think it's more holy because it's in Latin. That's the thinking, I believe. But it's
just the language of Rome to write all their heresies and their wicked canon laws and their councils, so the average man can never know. Yeah.
I think it was Alberto Rivera says it's the language of the Antichrist, Latin.
Yep, I think so, yeah. Well, it is, because the final Pope of Rome, who speaks Latin, will be slain with a sword, Revelation 13:14, rise from the dead, be possessed by the devil, and rule the world for 42 months as the Antichrist. Yep.
There's another agenda I'm curious to hear your thoughts on. It was, I saw things in, was it Dublin Bus? That's the name of the company, Dublin Bus. They do all the city routes all around the city and into the county as well. But there was a very fascinating advertisement on one of the buses on the inside of the bus, and it said, it was written in bold letters across the top of the poster. It says, "The Messiah is here," and then it had the picture of some guy. It almost looked. I wasn't sure when I looked at the picture first. Is this guy Muslim, or it could be a Sikh or something? It looked like he had a turban or something on his head, you know. So then I seen the website, and it was messiah.ie. So if any of your listeners want to have a look at that, messiah.ie, and I was like, okay. I opened it up and I seen it is a Muslim, and it was basically saying the Mahdi is here. So they're basically saying that their Messiah has arrived. Mm-hmm. And this is coming from the top, from in the Islamic community. That's not some random person putting that up on a bus. So I thought that was very interesting, and I just thought, is this a connection to what's happening now with the massive Muslim invasion? Because if they believe their Messiah is here and people don't bow down, they'll start cutting off heads left, right, and center all over the place.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And this is what it really got me thinking. Because there's two agendas at play. There's that angle. There's the Muslim Messiah angle, who I believe is the Antichrist. And there's also the, where was I going? The Muslim Antichrist agenda. And then there is the open invasion other side. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to know. You're going to have two. You could even have all these immigrants in here who are not planning on anything militarily, are no way involved, but they will absolutely get 100% involved if they see something coming prophetic from their book. You know, whether it's real or imagined, it won't matter if they're walking around with a machete at the time.
Sure, that's exactly right. Well, I maintain that Rome has always controlled Sunni Islam. Well, Sunni Islam got out of control during when Islam took over the Middle East about 750. I believe Rivera is right about that. And then the Pope called for the Crusades to get Jerusalem because the Muslims called the Pope an infidel. But I think about the 1700s with the rise of the Saudis, the Jesuits got control of Sunni Islam again, got control of Arabia through the Saudis. And Sunni Islam is completely and totally in the hands of the Jesuits. The Shia, not so much so. I mean, the Shia are enemies of the Sunnis. You know, a Shia cannot go to Mecca, Medina, or Jerusalem. So they're slated by the papacy for destruction. That's why they sent the American war machine over to kill them in Iraq and Afghanistan and wherever they will find these Shia. And there's soon to be probably a war in Iran, which is the capital of Shia Islam. But Sunni Islam was designed by the papacy, and their Mahdi is designed after the Antichrist. And so the final Pope of Rome has got to be the Antichrist, because we read in Revelation 17:10, five Caesars, 5 kings have fallen, one is and one is yet to come. And the 5 that have been killed I maintain were Nero, Caligula, Claudius, Vespasian, Titus, and then the one that was existing at the time of Revelation was Domitian, and then one is yet to come, and it wasn't Constantine. So he's yet to come. He's the final Pope of Rome. He's got to be slain with a sword, a real man, Revelation 13. He's the prince that shall come of Daniel 9:24, 9:26 or so, 27. And so he's Roman. And Islam is just a tool of the papacy to bring this Roman final Pope of Rome to power. But I'm tempted to think that Europe is going to have so many things wrong with it. There will be a leader, that the Jesuits will raise up some leader to unite the white peoples for the slaughter of all these Muslims in Europe, for the slaughter of them here, and for the slaughter of them in Canada, and for the slaughter of every Jew in North America. They're going to kill every Jew they can find when they put their new right in.
I see that with the resistance in Ireland as well. There's a lot of them. Zero knowledge on the agenda of Rome or the hand of Rome involved in all of this. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of people pushing the Jews are behind it all.
The Jews, just like they did in Charlottesville. The Jews will not replace us. Well, the Jews never did that. It was the Jesuit order. There's certain high-level Masonic Jews that are evil, like Kissinger and Chuck A. Schumer and a host of others. But they don't run anything. Jerusalem's trodden down with the Gentiles to the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled, according to Christ. So the Jews have not ruled Jerusalem since Nebuchadnezzar. And so who does? Gentile nations. Which one now? Rome. So until we focus on the Roman power, they're going to get their way. And I think they're going to unify Europe. It's going to be a unified white people of Europe, and they're going to round up all these alien invaders. They're going to kill them all. And that's going to be the same thing here. They're going to use the death camps, the FEMA camps for all these invaders. Remember, we got a FEMA camp in Alaska that has 1 million acres right outside of Anchorage. 1 million acres.
Massive. Mm.
It's going to be the Auschwitz of North America.
There was a point, I guess it left me there earlier, but I remember it now again. There was I don't know if you've watched the speech by Prince Charles. Prince Charles at the time, king now. It was in 2021 in Glasgow. It was the COP Climate Summit, United Nations Summit. And he gave a speech there where he was talking about using the public and the private sector to bring about this reset, to bring about the Great Reset. And he was saying that they're going to need to mobilize a massive army to do it. And it always stuck in my head when I think back about this speech, and I see what's happening in Europe, and I cannot separate the two in any way, shape, or form. It's like he said exactly what's I believe is just about to happen, and they're using the Trojan horse of the refugees to bring in all this military to bring the transition into the new form of government. It may go the way you're talking about, but this is for me. I see it going that way right now. This is the way I see it playing out in Europe.
Going that way right now, yeah, but I just don't see the Pope and the Jesuits wanting to sacrifice Europe to his Muslims. I just don't see it, because they know that you got to have an army to keep those people under control. Mm-hmm. And I'm maintaining they're building an army right now for that, with all the outrage against the white nations. There has to be. I hate to see any of it, but in the end, they're using Islam as their tool for what they want in the end. A unified Europe under a new kind of quasi-fascism that I think Martin Lee rightly defined in, 1983, something like that. Mm-hmm.
Well, in the UK right now, it's too far gone in the UK. I think they're already in as an Islamic country, pretty much at this stage. I hear
Liverpool's entirely Islamic. The cops don't even go there.
Liverpool wouldn't even be the worst. Birmingham, that's the second biggest city in England. That would be the worst. Birmingham. That is, that's where I was born, in Birmingham in England. But my parents left there in 1985. We got out of there because they said they didn't like the direction the city was going, but that it was totally different then to what it is now. It's completely Islamic now, and they're basically the Islamic hordes were going around into pubs and attacking white or English people just for being white, because of the pushback against the immigration there.
Mm.
So it's gotten really out of control. But it's multiple agendas. It's really hard to know what way it's going to go at the moment.
The Jesuits have many strings to their bow, as you know.
Yeah, I can see that there's contingency plans in place there. There's multiple agendas working together.
Because it's a military operation, as you know.
Yeah,
It's all military.
It's clearly military. Even just looking at the location of the migrant camps, just speaking specifically about Dublin, you can see that they're located. Actually, Michael Yon did a very good video on that. That's what prompted me to contact him to do an interview with him. But he got the information from an Irish follower of his who sent it to him, and he thought that this has to be made public rapidly. So he put the information out, and he showed all the locations of the refugee, the invaders, military invaders. Let's call it what it is. All the locations were on the primary access and egress into the city. So it was always on the main arteries coming in and out of the city. They have the whole place covered on all the main points, all the main motorways and other primary roads. In an instant, they could shut down the city, and no one's getting in and out. And they even have it around the front along the coast, so they could control the coast as well. So they're controlling everything coming in and coming out, and they can do it. They could do it overnight if they get the order. And he was saying this is clearly a military operation. Whoever has been planning the location of these centers has clearly got military thinking behind what they're doing. This is obviously a strategic military objective. This just purely from the locations of where all of these places have been put. And so this is why I'm not looking towards no elections, as they either Irish men stand up very soon, or it's too late. There's no going back. They're going to dispossess you of everything you own. Take your homes off you. I know they're planning on putting the immigrants into the spare bedrooms of people. That's where they're going to take it. Mm-hmm. So that's they're
trying to do that with Hispanic invaders in here too. That governor of Illinois, want to take them into your house. Yeah, that's right. That prostitute. So they haven't seen real resistance yet. And when they see it, they'll wish it wouldn't have come. Because when white men decide enough is enough, there is nothing that is going to stop them. Nothing. You can't control their minds anymore. We've been raped, pillaged, and plundered. They've knifed our children, raped our wives, taken our property. What do we have to lose? And it's just like Braveheart, for 100 years. And then finally, you have the Scottish king saying, well, or the English king, what's wrong with Scotland? Well, there's too many Scots. Romanocracy, first night. Rape the English women so we can bastardize their race. They're doing the same thing here with these alien invaders in this country and in your country too. And they're all brown skin, black skin, Africans, Hispanics. They all generally hate white people. And so I say, it's time to racial separate, have a Declaration of Independence, and you blacks can have your country. I've advocated the state of New Jersey be given to the blacks in this country for 25 years. Have at it. Get the airports, get the farms, everything. That's going to be your new nation. But when it goes to hell in a handbasket, you don't come over here because we're going to shoot you. When you turn that place into Haiti, we're going to shoot you because you don't come in my country. You're not welcome here. When the white men, the white Protestants helped the blacks of America to move to Liberia, they helped them write a constitution. And in that constitution, those white men wrote in there that no white man could own 1 square foot of Liberia. It was exclusively for black people so that they would have their own nation. And that's exactly the options that we ought to have here. So we don't force race mixing always brings to savagery, war, and then anarchy, and then dictatorship. And that's why they've done it here. Probably the same way with you too.
Yeah, there's chaos happening everywhere across Ireland now. It really hit home to me when I heard my own mother say she's scared to walk down the street. She's never said that before in her life, ever. Mm-hmm. But I warned her, and she thought I was crazy. I was warning her for years. And she's saying, you have to forget about these people. I was like, no, you can't forget about these people because they're coming here to take over. And that's the bottom. But, the older generation in Ireland, they're extremely indoctrinated by RTE. It's the main broadcaster in Ireland. They're constantly watching it. And
RT, isn't that Russian?
no, that's RT. It's RTE.
Oh, RTE, okay.
That's Radio Telefish Éireann. It's the Irish RTE. Yeah.
I see, RTE.
So they're all watching this on a daily basis and incapable of hearing an alternative view outside of it. But my mum actually did say to me recently, she's saying that a lot of her age group says they're now really worried about the immigrant situation. And I says, okay. And I says, tell me this: how many of your peer group, shall we say, have switched off RTE? Says, oh, don't think anybody has. I says, why not? Because they're the ones who brainwashed you to not see it until it's almost too late.
They're the ones that drugged you.
Yeah.
Put you on the drug of accepting this, yeah.
So her answer was none. They're all still watching it, but they're all.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense.
So yeah, no, but it's for me that was the mortal blow that was being struck against the world.
Yes.
Not just Ireland, because those deaths are still increasing.
Well, remember,
all the time.
All that sin of shoving that quote unquote down the throats was done primarily to white nations.
True.
It wasn't done to black African nations. It was done to South Africa, but that was white. It was done to maybe Rhodesia, but that was historically white. They didn't do it to the black nations, and they didn't do it to the Asian nations, and they didn't do it to the Hispanic nations. They did it to historically white Protestant and Catholic nations because they got to beat the whites down. Make sense?
Yeah. No, that does make sense. I've seen it. You can even see the fertility rates are falling off a cliff in all the Western countries. The women are not able to take a baby to term anymore. They're all losing their babies.
What do you expect for all these white feminists? The average white woman doesn't want to serve her husband. The average white woman doesn't want to be a homemaker and have some children. They all want a career. They all think they're equal to a white man. Well, really, lady? How many of you white women have created a country? How many of you have put an army together? How many of you have written constitutions? Don't talk to me about equality. You're out of your minds. You need to be in a position of subordination to your husband so you can help him do what he's got to do. Because we can't do it without their subordination to help us.
That's very true. It is a blessing to have a wife subordinate to you.
Yes, it is.
It absolutely is. Because she will help you and she will correct you along the way as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Because we all have our blind spots.
Yes, we do. Yeah. And she's generally right, isn't she?
My wife has corrected me on multiple occasions, and on when she really puts the hammer down, yeah, she's generally right. Yeah.
Generally right. Yep. Mm-hmm. Well, Brother Sean, I think we have exhausted our topic, unless you have something more you want to add.
No, that's about it for now. It's just any of your listeners want to follow me anymore, they could look up thethirdtruth.com. That's my website. That's the number 3 RD, and you'll find me there. And if you want to contact me, you can contact me through the webpage. There's a contact us section on the website, so I can answer your queries or questions from there.
Wonderful. Well, Sean, it's been so good to have you, brother. And I look forward to having you again. I've thoroughly enjoyed myself with you, and you've taught me many things. And it's
good to catch up with you too. It's been a while.
Yes, it has. All right, brother. Well, Lord bless. And you've given your contact info also for support. You have any place that they can send a support gift to you, if you'd like that?
Through my website, there's a donation option on there. That would be fantastic if anybody could help out there. It's not easy to make money in Colombia, I can tell you that. It's a different ball game here, but we're going to keep at it.
Amen. Very good, my brother. Okay, well, Lord bless. So good to see you again, and we will get together and do this again, and I'm sure the listeners will enjoy everything you brought to us. So,
thank you very much, Eric. Talk to you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.